Hi there and welcome back to my channel. This is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video we're discussing T is for Trespass, written by Sue Grafton. It's book 20 in the Kinsey Millhone series. The style of this book is different and I didn't enjoy the style for two reasons. The first is the multi-point of view, where we have many chapters in this story from the villain's point of view. I didn't enjoy that because I'm biased. I prefer books where it's from Kinsey's point of view only. Also, we know the villain right up front, and that also ruined the story for me, because I prefer the books when Kinsey's trying to find out who the villain is, when she doesn't know who it is. We follow her investigation. I prefer that in these books, so I'm biased on that as well. So for those two reasons, it wasn't the best book for me. It felt so different in style. Those multi-point of views didn't work for me at all. First off, why is this book called T is for Trespass? It seems a bit of a reach for me. I think it's meant to be trespass of people's personal space, or their psychological space even. That's what it seems to be. But let's talk about the overall plot. So the plot is many cases, I think too many. We have a main case, which is about a nurse, and this nurse is preying on elderly people. And then we have a secondary case, which is about a car accident. And that case feels more focused on this witness than on the people involved in that accident. So I think that's unusual, and I wonder about that, the reason behind that. But then we have other cases going on, other things Kinsey's doing in this story. It seems to be about her, trying to serve people with summons or evict people, serve them eviction notices for their apartments, wherever they're renting. It's focused on that, and it just focuses on that a lot. And there's so many of those things going on in the story. It just feels repetitive. It feels out of place, actually, as well. It felt strange in the story to me. So much so that it just has a feel of Stephanie Plum. The Stephanie Plum series. It felt like that to me in those scenes. And I'm not a huge fan of the Stephanie Plum series. I like the first couple of books, then they went a bit terrible for me. And I think one day I may even go back and reread them and do a whole series based on those books. But I don't know how I can do that without doing kind of negative reviews. But I think this book, in those scenes, felt like that a lot, those Stephanie Plum books. But I digress from the plot. Back to the cases in this book. The main case is all about that nurse. And we already know she's a villain from the very get-go in this book. I found it disappointing because I prefer not to know the villain until towards the end in this series. I think the series is stronger when that happens. We know who the villain is, and it's all about Kinsey trying to prove it. It becomes like a cat and mouse game between them both. Cat and mouse game of minds more than anything else. We learn the nurse character, Solana. She's very clever. She manipulates people very much. And she kind of understands people's psyche a lot. She gets down to the core of their psyche a lot. She's almost like a sociopath a lot in this book. And Kinsey's having a hard time trying to prove she's up to no good. So it's all about that in this main case. So while some part of that is engaging and enjoyable, I do prefer the chase more than the cat and mouse thing going on between the characters. So for me, it would have been better if Kinsey had no idea who the villain was until towards the end. The secondary case being that car accident. Now, as I mentioned, this book focuses more on the witness, who's a alleged predator, than focusing on the car accident itself. And I found that quite interesting. Now, why was that choice made? Especially when the witness doesn't impact the conclusion of that case at all. It concludes neatly without anything to do with that character. So that felt strange in the story. And it makes you wonder why Sue Grafton decided to even include that storyline in this book. What was the purpose behind that? What saves this book is Kinsey and Henry. Henry being a recurring character and Kinsey's landlord in this series. The other recurring characters in this series don't really make an appearance in this story. So it's all down to Kinsey and Henry. Even though this book is a different style for Kinsey, we still have her observations, her wit, her way of seeing the world. And that's unique to her, I think. She's very cynical. She's sometimes a bit snarky. She can be funny. She can be very insightful as well. She can get down to what makes people tick a lot in this series. And I like Kinsey as a character. I like her wit, her observations, her cynicism. that whole character for me is one of the best PI characters in fiction. Now for Henry in this book, he's got another romance angle going on. And it seems there's a few books lately in this series where we've got a romance angle for Henry. It feels like Sue Grafton's trying to find a match for Henry in this series. Has he got a match in Charlotte? And Charlotte works as a real estate agent. Is there a match there? You'll have to read this to find out. But it just feels like Henry, the character, is being forced to enter all these relationships. And I wonder what the future is for Henry in this series. So for this book in general, the mystery element was not really there at all for the main case. It's slightly there for the secondary case, but that case gets solved without Kinsey really solving it. So there's no real purpose to have that secondary case in the book at all. The multi-point of view angle, having the villain's point of view in this book for so many chapters, didn't work for me. I prefer this series when it's Kinsey's point of view alone. I like her point of view, and I think the books are strongest when it's her point of view. I wonder why this book was written in that way. But the overall feel of this book just felt a bit stitched together for me. It felt like multiple stories stitched together with no overall real purpose. And some of those stories didn't need to be there because they didn't add anything to the story. They were concluded without Kinsey doing anything really to conclude them. It just felt a bit of a mix to me in this story. It just felt like a bit like Frankenstein, something stitched together, and the results weren't very pretty. So in this section, I'll mention two new characters who were there for this book. So first off, Solana, who's the nurse, one of the villains, or the villain in the major case in this book. As characters go, I think she's strong, so she's not a bad character, but I didn't need her point of view to prove that. I would have preferred it being through Kinsey's eyes, Kinsey finding things out about Solana, and then we know what Solana's like as a person. Because everything about Solana just felt a bit unusual to me. Sometimes she felt a bit too forced in her point of view. And sometimes she feels inconsistent as well. And sometimes I just wondered how she got away with what she was doing for so long. I couldn't buy it really in the book. So I think having her point of view being so detailed just made her try to be fleshed out so much that she didn't seem real in the story. I think the end result was she was a good character, but ended up not being so real because as a reader, I just wondered how she got away with doing everything for so long. Charlotte in this book was Henry's girlfriend, and I was wondering why she was in the book. What was the purpose of having her in this story? She was there for a romance angle for Henry, of course, but she was also there, it seemed, to just bring something out in Henry we hadn't seen before. Something about him being impatient, even rude, arrogant even sometimes with Charlotte. It just seemed strange to me to bring these strange parts of Henry out into this book. So I'm not really sure on the purpose of Charlotte. And as the characters go, I didn't mind Charlotte in this book. I thought she was okay as a character. So it makes me wonder the whole purpose of that. You know, is she meant to be there to do that with Henry? You know, what was the real purpose? And did we need to see that side of Henry in this series? I'm still confused by that. So if you've read this book, I wonder what your thoughts are on this character, Charlotte. Being a reader who really enjoys this series, having a book in this series is not very strong, it's disappointing. But Kinsey and Henry save the day, and they make me rate this a 3 out of 5. Without Kinsey and Henry being written so well in the story, and Kinsey's not written in the best way, I think. There are other books in this series where she's written much better, but she's still a good character, and her observations, her wit and cynicism is still there. And Henry as a character is still very strong, very likeable, despite the fact that there's these strange parts of his character coming out in this book that make him a bit unlikable in some cases. He's still a very good character in this book and in this series. So that's the reason why I rate the book like I did. On my channel, I review many mysteries. If you enjoy mysteries, check out my channel and subscribe. On the screen now is a link to a video for another book I'm sure you'll enjoy.